I'm going to be telling you a real life story of Kemi and how she survived a ritual attempt from a very close friend. This was a friend that she trusted so much and believed they had something going. On a quiet Saturday evening, Kemi thought she was heading out on a casual dinner with a very close friend, Kingsley. Someone she had laughed with, cried with, and this was a friendship of over 15 years. And somewhere along that deserted road, Kemi realized something was off. She realized she wasn't taken to a restaurant. She realized she wasn't taken on a date. She also realized that there was something more than she knew about. And she realized she wasn't taken somewhere dark, somewhere dangerous. The smile Kingsley gave her in the rear mirror wasn't the smile of a very close friend. It was the smile of a man who had made a decision. The decision that could cost Kemi her life if she didn't act fast. This is that real story. It was Saturday afternoon around 4 p.m. Kemi had spent the most of her day cleaning the house, making sure that the whole place was clean. Of course, just like an average person would do on a weekend. Then about 4 p.m. she received a call from her friend, Kingsley. Kingsley happened to be Kemi's friend. In fact, this was the same guy that when Kemi's father died, they both buried him together. And this was friendship of over 15 years. So when Kingsley called about 4 p.m. asking Kemi that what was she doing tonight, that he would like for both of them to hang out, And then Kemi felt like, okay, this is my friend, somebody I've known for over 15 years. I mean, what harm could he do to me? So he was asking Kemi, are you going to be available by 7? I'd like to take you on a date, that kind of thing. Let's just hang out, let's have dinner, And then because of the kind of person he was to Kemi agreed. And I said, okay, 7 p.m. it is. And then he said he was going to come around to come pick her, which they both agreed on. So, for most ladies, Kemi was thinking of what to wear and stuff like that. And then she decided to wear a top and a jean. So generally speaking, she just wore something light since it was a casual date, At about 7:15 p.m., Kingsley drove by and called on Kemi. Hurriedly, Kemi came out of the house and then they drove off. Kemi asked Kingsley, where exactly are we going? I'd like to know. And then Kingsley was like, don't worry. You don't have to be in a hurry. There's this new spot that I just discovered. I'd like for us to go there, have some fun. And of course, because both of them are fun kind of people and they've known each other for a very long time, it wasn't really of a big deal to Kemi. So she felt at home. That afterwards, this was my friend. So they started to drive. They were driving, moving past different buildings and stuff like that. And of course, Kingsley's face was like normal to Kemi at that point in time. In fact, it was beaming because it was as though there was something that I wanted to show Kemi that Kemi might not have seen before. So as they were driving, Kemi was expecting they were going to stop by at one of those big restaurants. In fact, one major restaurant just opened up in their community. So she was thinking maybe that was where they were going. But when they got there, Kingsley didn't stop. He kept driving and all of that. All of a sudden, Kemi noticed they weren't driving towards the usual busy restaurants, the usual resorts that they used to visit and all of that. And then she was a little bit worried. And then she asked Kingsley, where exactly are we going? Kingsley told her not to worry, don't worry. I'm going to show you somewhere really nice. But as they were moving, Kemi noticed that the environment began to change. The busy roads were no longer busy. There were scanty houses where they were passing. And she could also notice that there was no light. In fact, the whole place was becoming really, really dark. And then she could see trees. In fact, it was as though that community was like a village. So Kemi was worried again and then she asked, Kingsley, where exactly are we going? Because I'm beginning to get scared. I can't really see anything on this road. No restaurants, no resorts, no bars, no lounges. But Kingsley said, don't worry, you're going to thank me later. So they kept moving. The only thing Kemi noticed was the fact that Kingsley's demeanor started to change. His mood started to change. She could sense from his face that something was not right. But because again, this was friendship of over 15 years. So she trusted him. Minutes turned into 30 minutes, into 1 hour, and the roads were becoming quieter and darker. And so Kemi was becoming uneasy. No shops, no restaurants, no buildings, only scattered trees and houses. So at some point, Kemi asked again, Kingsley, where exactly are we going? This time, she meant every word, and she expected a definite answer from Kingsley. But all Kingsley could say was to just smile and say, trust me, I'm going to surprise you. At this point, Kemi knew something was off and something was not right. Unfortunately for her, she reached for her purse, only to find out that there was nothing really that she could use to defend herself in her purse, in case something came up. No pepper spray, no small knife. All she had was her mind. So after about an hour of driving, Kingsley began to slow down, because by this time they had got to a very dark area, a plot of land that was dark and an uncompleted building. At this building, Kemi saw 3 tall men just right in front of them, and so it was as if her heart was going to come out of her mouth. Again, she asked Kingsley, what is all this? Where is this place? And Kingsley said, don't worry, you are going to see just in a moment. This time, Kingsley was no longer smiling. Rather, his eyes had turned red, and he looked like someone that was demonic at that very point in time. All he told Kemi at this point was that, don't fight it, Kemi. It will be easier for you if you don't fight it. At that point, Kemi knew that she had to do something if she was going to leave. At that point again, something snapped inside of Kemi. Fear, rage, and betrayal from her friend. And this was no robbery. This was something darker. This was something evil. At this point, Kemi became very helpless. Right in her head, she was thinking of what she could do to save herself. I mean, these were 4 hefty men. 3 hefty men, including her friend. So, Kingsley opened the door. On opening the door, Kemi made a move. She screamed, hoping someone would help her. But unfortunately, it was a very quiet environment. Apparently, this was a well-thought plan from Kingsley. But something happened. Kemi did something weird. She broke the side mirror from the car and used it to cut Kingsley's hand. Kingsley screamed and was really furious. He called on the 3 FT men for help, and so they jolted forward. At that point, Kemi was able to lose herself from Kingsley. So she bolted into the bush, barefoot, bleeding, and terrified. Branches tore at her clothes, stones cut into her skin, but she wouldn't stop. So behind her, she heard them cursing, shouting, yelling, screaming, and threatening, but she didn't stop. Kemi ran faster than she had ever done in her entire life, all to save her life. So after what felt like an eternity of trying to run for her life, she hit a road and then she saw a car coming her way. So she waved down the car. The car driver was scared for his life. He drove past, but after a few seconds, he came back because Kemi was screaming on top of her voice, asking the man to save her. So fortunately for her, the man drove back. He came out of his car asking what exactly was the problem, all of that. So while the man was asking the question, Kemi was like, please, let's leave this place because they were after my life. And so she got in the car and they drove off. So before Kingsley and the other guys could get to the road, they had already taken off. And so out of bitterness, out of pain, out of agony, Kingsley and the 3 other guys went back. As they were driving away, she saw Kingsley from the side mirror by the side of the bush, eyeball to eyeball. He was totally expressionless. After this incident, Kemi never spoke to Kingsley again. As a matter of fact, she reported the matter to the police, but before they could do anything, Kingsley had vanished like smoke. No trace, no apology, nothing. So friends who once knew them as inseparable pair, they whispered, they murmured, they speculated, but none of them knew what actually happened. Only Kemi did. And sometimes late at night, Kemi would wake up thinking about the last look Kingsley gave her. Not anger, not regret, just emptiness. It looked as though he had given up a piece of his soul long before that night and almost took hers with it. If you have made it to this point, that means you found the story very interesting. Please do well to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share with someone who might also be interested. Now leave a comment on your thoughts about the story and what you would have done if you were to be in Kemi's shoe. So until next time I come your way, stay blessed, stay safe, and always be nice to people. See you on the next one. Take care and God bless. Bye.